So you're thinking of moving to Casa Grande, Arizona. Well, in this video, I'm going to take you through some of the pros and cons of the city so that you can decide for yourself if it's a place that you want to, move to, invest in, make it part of your life. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to tell you about this really cool, quirky attraction that you can find in Casa Grande, and you're not going to want to miss that. But we're getting things going right now. My name is Mike Miller. I get questions, calls, texts, emails from people just like you all the time wanting to know more about Casa Grande and the surrounding areas, other Phoenix suburbs. So if you are planning a move to the area in the next 9 days or 9 months, I would love to help you make it the smoothest move possible and simplify it for you as much as I can. So first of all, on the pros side, Casa Grande is a smaller town. It's around 60,000 people. And a lot of times with those smaller towns, you get a small town feel. People tend to be pretty friendly. People tend to show up to community events together, or just you'll see people that you know. And because everybody's going to kind of the same place, kids go to the same school, etc., and they just tend to support each other a little bit more within the community. So it's going to be pretty level with nice views without huge skyscrapers or 20-story apartment complexes blocking your view or anything like that. Casa Grande also has a ton of manufacturing jobs. There's Frito-Lay plant, there's the Lucid plant that's there now, there's a Walmart warehouse, there's a plastic facility, there's a metal facility, and several others. But effectively, there's not really a shortage of jobs in Casa Grande. On top of that, there's a lot of room, a lot of empty space still in Casa Grande itself and just outside, where a lot more such facilities can be built. And in that same vein, Casa Grande is positioned for a lot more of that kind of growth in the future, especially because it's in a growth corridor between Phoenix and Tucson. There's kind of three main cities in Arizona, and there's a lot of surrounding suburbs to those cities, but there's Flagstaff up north, Phoenix towards the center, and Tucson in the south. Phoenix is obviously the biggest one. Casa Grande, being more or less halfway between Phoenix and Tucson, has a chance to capitalize on a lot of the commerce that travels between the two cities. We're going to switch over to a map really quick to get just a rough idea of what that looks like as far as positioning for Casa Grande, okay? So here's Casa Grande here. It is the obviously red dotted outlined area. It's kind of a horseshoe shape. It dances around, this is a copper mine here, and there's a few other buildings of industry here, including Frito-Lay is right there. Okay, so that's a Frito-Lay manufacturing plant. Let's see, let's find the Lucid plant. Okay, there we go. So I knew it was just outside of the city borders, but there's a lot of manufacturing over here, tons of places. Anyway, let's back out a little bit. Phoenix is up here. This is Phoenix, this area. It's kind of got a funky shape. Maricopa over here, and Casa Grande and Maricopa are connected by the Casa Grande Maricopa freeway. And then further south, Tucson here. So you can see it's a little bit closer to Phoenix, but not by a huge margin. Casa Grande to Tucson without traffic is about an hour and a half, hour 20 minutes, versus from Casa Grande up to Phoenix is about 45 minutes. But let's plot them out real quick. I said 45 minutes, probably more like 55 or so. Oh, there we go. 57 minutes from center of Casa Grande to center of Phoenix. Okay. All right. Let's flip it just to see what it says. 55 minutes. Okay. So Casa Grande Tucson to Casa Grande. Hour 7 minutes. Okay. All right. That's even better than I thought. Hour 9 minutes. Obviously, traffic can impact that significantly. And then just for fun, just because it's nice to get away from the heat during the summer, let's check out Casa Grande to San Diego. All right, so 5 hours and 8 minutes. That's not bad. 5 hours, 9 minutes. Okay, so that's, and it basically just drops down a little bit and follows the 8 the entire way. So it's simple directions. There's plenty of truck stops and, actual nice truck stops with nice bathrooms and amenities and stuff on the way. A lot of people living in Casa Grande are going to be going up to Chandler, Gilbert Mesa, that area, for work or for pretty much everything that Casa Grande is missing, as far as Sam's Club and your Costco's and your nice restaurants. You're going to be able to find all of that right there. So that's important to know. Let's just say Chandler. Okay, so 43 minutes, and that's going to be pretty typical, I think. 44 minutes going the opposite direction. I like to flip it the opposite direction because it helps you account for, balance out traffic issues at any given time. And then to, Mesa, Gilbert, Tempe, obviously add on the appropriate amount of time. But the 202 loops you around pretty well. This is a fairly new freeway here. And to get to Phoenix, you would, there's a few different routes. You can switch over to the 202 to the 10, or you could switch over to the 101 and, take all those routes. Airport's over here, so that's actually an important one. Let's do Sky Harbor Airports. 46 minutes versus 47 minutes. Okay, so take that into consideration if going out of town is a common thing for you. There's also Mesa, the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airports. So this airport has a lot of smaller carriers. Allegiant, for example, flies out of there a lot, and you can get really cheap tickets to a lot of places. They don't have a full destination list, and their planes are pretty cramped, and you don't get any bonuses unless you're a veteran. I get 2 free checked bags every time I go, which is pretty nice. But definitely take them into consideration. You'll want to do a little research to see if they fly to wherever your family is, or back home, or whatever your case is. But yeah, primarily to the Phoenix metro area, you're going to be taking the 10 or the 187 to the 87 here. Okay, I would say the 10 is probably more common, but it depends on what your specific location is. With that said, the I-10, it goes at a pretty fast clip. The speed limit is 75 on a lot of it, 65 here and whatnot. But there's only 3 lanes each direction, which isn't too bad. But since there is all this traffic going to Tucson, if something happens, it can be a little messy, and you can see some big delays. But to someone like me, it feels nice to be able to have 75 as the speed limit, we'll say. There tend to be a lot of state troopers here, so you've got to watch your speeding so you don't get a ticket, because then it can get a lot more expensive to live in Casa Grande if you get a lot of those. So back to the working situation in Casa Grande, just to touch on it a little bit, but Lucid is coming into town there just a few years ago, has really upped the game as far as income goes. Their plant has an average salary of about $104,000, and that's in comparison to Casa Grande's average income, which is more around $33,000, which is on the lower side for sure, but it's on the rise, and a big part of that is Lucid, and hopefully some other things that are coming to the area that will help bring that up and encourage more economic growth in the area. And another piece to that, generally low income, especially with a lot of new builds happening in Casa Grande, is affordable homes is a major pro in the area. So if you have a good paying job, either because you commute to it, or you work online, or you work at some place like Lucid, then you might be in luck. So let's check out the home prices. So let's actually start with the new builds here. We'll go to Casa Grande. Oops, Grand. Okay, and we'll just look at everything they've got in the area. So switching over to map view. Now these are all for new builds here in Casa Grande. All right, 334 to 374,000, 158 to 259,000. Now notice this doesn't have a garage; it has a carport, which I haven't seen that anywhere else in recent years, at least. So anywhere but Casa Grande. So they're definitely shooting for budget homes there. Okay, 317, 362, 484 there. Okay. 339, 374, and you see these little price drop icons. That's a good sign if you're a home buyer. 284 to 399. Okay, so there's a lot here. Let's see, 367, 445. 279. So there's at least a few that are under 300,000 and not always 299.99. You know, there's some that are well under 300,000. So this is kind of gonna be the cream of the crop as far as budget homes go, but there's also some nicer ones. Let me know if you want to check some of these out. I'll send you my link for looking at new homes in Casa Grande. But let's look at the resale homes in Casa Grande. Actually, real quick, since we're out on land and lots, let's look at those, because I kind of think it helps prove or demonstrate what I'm talking about as far as there's a lot of room for growth. And you'll notice, see, Casa Grande is this gray area here. That's the city proper, but there's a ton available outside. Now, not all of these are going to have utilities to them, so they're not all going to have power and water and sewage running to them. So that means you either come up with your own solution to that, or you pay to have it run to your property, and that can be kind of pricey. But some of them do, a lot of them do have utilities running to them. But at any rate, the prices for those, let's see, as low as $10,000 for, let's see, for a quarter acre. Yep, just over a quarter acre. Or if we scroll down to the bottom, $9.5 million, and that's for over 54 acres. So, so pretty big range there. Just out of curiosity, where's that one? Okay, so that one's actually in Casa Grande, right up to the 10. So I can see that being some pretty valuable land in the future. All right, so with the resale homes, let's bring it to active only. Dwelling type, we'll just look at single family homes for now. Casa Grande does have a lot more options than that. There's a lot of mobile home parks and trailer home parks. One of the concerns with those is, in a lot of cases, if not all cases, they have a land lease fee, which that means you never actually own the land. You are forever paying a land lease fee, usually around $350, $500 a month, sometimes $800 a month or more. But let's omit those right off the gate. I'm happy to go through them if you would like, and help you with them if those fit what you're looking for. They're just one reason that they're difficult is because they're really hard to get loans for. Most banks won't lend on a property that has land lease on it, and that's because it carries a lot of risk. If you stop paying the land lease, then that person or that entity can foreclose on you, and they can take over the property, and the bank misses out altogether. They just get nothing. They walk away with nothing. So if we do, let's see, Casa Grande, single family homes, let's see, we have 351 that pop up, okay? And you see they're kind of all around, almost exclusively on the east side of Casa Grande. Let's break it down by price so you can kind of see, you know, how many options you might have available in your price range. So under 300,000, we'll just do this really quick. If you'd like, I can go through specific price points in greater detail in the future. I'll probably do that even if nobody asks. But see, new build home there for just under 300,000. This one looks like it's already built for about 300,000. Looks beautiful. Let's go back to here. Let's bump it up a little bit to 300,001, and let's do 600,000 just to kind of be efficient. 265 in that range, and I think that's going to be the bulk of them. It is a big range, and it's kind of a sweet spot too for a lot of homes. All right, so some really nice looking places here. And I'm just curious on that one, when it was built. 2006. Okay, so a newer home, not brand new, but newer for sure. At the top of the range, let's look at this one. So a nice big 2-story, spacious, not super updated, so it's probably from 2006. 7 bedrooms, almost 5,000 square feet, or coming up on 5,000 square feet, so good size there. 11,000 square foot lot. When you have it double stacked like that, you know, 2-story, that compresses the footprint, so that means you have more yard to enjoy, which is one of the reasons that we bought our house, is the 2-story. That's not for everybody. In fact, usually a 2-story is going to be lower cost per square foot, because for a lot of people, not having to deal with stairs is a big plus side. It's give or take, you know, for your own personal needs. Let's bump it up a little bit. Let's just do up to $1 million. Okay, so between 600,000 and 1 million, we have 23. Okay, and when we get to the higher range of these, a lot of them are going to be really nice houses, and a lot of them are also going to be on big lots. So this one, for example, 5 acres of land, 1.128, 3.28 acres. So yeah, you've got a lot of land to play with. Even this one at 1.278 acres, that's pretty nice. It looks like it might have a bit of an attic there. At any rate, that hopefully gives you an idea for where things are price-wise. I'm definitely happy to break it down more. I'm just trying to be, you know, concise here for the sake of your time. And along with that, let's also get an idea for the age of the homes. So homes before 1950, for example. Okay, so there's a few of them here. Looks like that one might have been updated, actually. So yeah, okay, yeah, it's definitely been had some modern updates to it. Probably a flip considering how consistent those features are. And but still, 475. Okay, all right. And this one is in need of a flip. So kind of just kind of all across the board there. Now let's look at another date range. Let's do 1951 to 2000. I know that's a huge huge gap there, but bear with me. 195,000 to just shy of $1 million. Okay. Now an older home, as you know, we've already very quickly seen, can be in great shape, can have been taken care of, and can have great updates, so it can be a wonderful home. So this is not to say, you know, we're going up in levels of quality or nice home. It's just a clue, an indicator of what the town consists of. Sometimes it can be nice to have a newer home that is better with you know, energy efficiency and stuff like that. So 2001 to 2024. So this is all the more recent ones, and are going to have those, you know, better efficiencies, energy efficiencies and stuff. So you can kind of see that you know, the population in Casa Grande has definitely had a bit of an upward curve, and that reflects in the homes that are built there. Or, you know, it's chicken and egg. Did the people come first and then the homes? Obviously, people need a place to live in, but it certainly makes it attractive when there's competition for homes, and then home prices can be lower, so people are going to tend to buy more there. You know, economic stuff. With that said, even though a lot of the growth in Casa Grande has been in the last few years, it's been ramping up. For a long time, up until just a few years ago, Casa Grande was the biggest city in Pinal County. So one of the pros for Casa Grande is that you have a lot of the government services there, a lot of the county services, and so it can be convenient to get things done, get vehicle or land work done, or things done with the courts, which, you know, obviously handles a broad array of things. There's a good amount of medical services, mental health services. There's some VA services there with a VA clinic. There's a full hospital. There's Home Depot, Lowe's, and you know, kind of just a lot of things that go with a town that is pretty well established, even if it is on the smaller side. Another pro to Casa Grande, well, let's do more showing than telling on this one. As I've said before, as a realtor, I'm limited on what kinds of things I can say regarding crime rates, you know, whether a place is safe to live at or not. So let's go to communitycrimemap.com because I can definitely give you resources, and this is a great resource. Casa Grande is down here, so you know, there are some different criteria you can play around with as far as time frame, you know, buffer, offenders, events, This is the one I was looking for, where you can turn off and on certain types of crime, depending on what's important to you. But just as a generality, this gives you a really quick overview, a really quick comparison of, say, Casa Grande to other areas. Obviously, more crime than this happens in Casa Grande. It's just because of the filters, only certain things are showing up, and it'll only show a certain number of them on the screen at a time. Still gives you a good indication of how bad the crime is. Obviously, if you visit like Facebook and you talk to people there, which you should do, check out the Facebook page of a local community you're thinking about moving to, but you're gonna get a heavy dose of people complaining about the crime and, oh, my city's going to crap, and all these things. It doesn't necessarily reflect the reality, because people are used to a certain thing, and if anything outside of that happens, then oh dear. But with that said, it's still a good way to kind of get to know things ahead of time. And then double check what they're saying by tools like this, communitycrimemap.com/map. And with that, another one of the pros to Casa Grande is there's kind of some nice and some unique things to do. I wouldn't say it's an entertainment hub or anything like that, but there's some nice trails to hike. Some of, or most of them, not too challenging, pretty easy. If you haven't heard it before, go to alltrails.com. It's a great resource, one of my favorite resources for just finding local trails, because Arizona especially is great for hiking. A lot of the big mountains aren't quite near Casa Grande, but it's still got some good opportunities. There's also campgrounds that are in, or I think just outside of Casa Grande, so just a few minutes drive from pretty much anywhere in the city. They're very much desert landscape. It's not camping in the forest or anything, but it's camping, and I like camping. It's fun. There's some cool smaller rocks that you can climb in some of those. My older son and I camped at one of those a couple months ago, and we had a lot of fun. There's also the Casa Grande National Monument, which Casa Grande, the city, is named after. Ironically, it's about 20 minutes away in Coolidge, which I don't think existed when Casa Grande got its name, so it is what it is. But still, it's I feel like it's part of the city and worth checking out. There's also 3 full golf courses in Casa Grande: the Dave White Municipal Golf Course, Mission Royale Golf Course, and Francisco Grande Golf Resorts. And I don't golf, not that I wouldn't, but I just haven't thus far. But from what I'm told, these are actually really nice golf courses and worth checking out. So consider researching them and visiting them if that is your thing. And then my final pro for Casa Grande is, just like my one of my main pros for all these other cities, the weather here in a lot of the fall, a lot of the spring, all of the winter is pretty phenomenal. We don't ever get snow in Casa Grande. There's a little bit of hail once in a while, I'd say every 2-3 years. Sometimes a tiny bit of frost in the morning, but outside of that, like, the temperatures rarely reach 32, except for maybe a handful of times in the dead of the night. But outside of that, you're looking at temperatures around 55, 65 as the high. And it's just really comfortable. I'll go out in shorts in the middle of summer. We get monsoon rains, where most of our rain comes in, short bursts, a day or 2 or 3, usually in late August, September, and then we'll tend to get a little bit, another burst or so in January. But overall, if you are looking for sun, this is a sunny place. We don't have to worry about natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, that sort of thing are pretty much unheard of here. Because of the monsoons, how they can suddenly drop a lot of water, flash floods can be an issue in some areas, but for the most part is pretty well contained into drainage areas, at least as far as the main cities go. But yeah, it's part of why outdoor living is such a big thing, why golf is so big here in Arizona. When most of the rest of the country is freezing to death, we are living our lives and we are loving it. So let's switch over to the cons now. Reasons Casa Grande might not be the place for you to live. For me, number one on that has got to be the location. There are real advantages to Casa Grande's location, and has a lot of potential for the future, being between Phoenix and Tucson, but for now it feels like it's far away from everything. What was it, 55 minutes to downtown Phoenix, close to that to our main airport. Casa Grande can feel kind of isolated. There are a lot of even smaller towns speckled around Casa Grande, Arizona City, Coolidge, Blackwater, Sacaton, Starfield. Florence is out here. Florence is out here. I know there's a lot of new builds coming up in a lot of these towns here. Florence has a prison in it, which can make some people nervous, but Casa Grande is far enough away from that where, in my mind at least, it's not a big an issue. But basically what it amounts to is if you are in Casa Grande and the Casa Grande doesn't have something you need, you're probably going to be driving a bit, and a round trip of an hour and a half it can be a little painful. And if traffic is bad, if you're catching it at rush hour and things are backed up, then you're a little bit out of luck. The drive on the I-10 here is a little bit dry too. There's not much to see. It does go through the Gila River Indian Reservation, and they just at this point haven't built much of anything through there. At any rate, you kind of got to be prepared for some of the downsides to a smaller town. Not all the amenities are there. There's not every single shopping experience. Like I said, no Sam's Club or Costco. There is a good sized shopping complex there. I think it's called the Promenade Grand. But they don't have everything. If Trader Joe's or Winco or Sam's Club or Costco or what have you, if something is critical to you, make sure you research it before you settle on Casa Grande to make sure that they will be able to fit your needs. It can be kind of painful to realize that something that's critical to you is a 45-minute drive away. My next con for Casa Grande is the age of the town, and this is kind of sporadic because, like I've pointed out, a lot of the town is newer, but a lot of it is not. So there are some really older, not super upkept areas of the town, and that comes with both how the city's taking care of it, and that's fine for some people. That's not ideal for other people, but the city does have kind of some different feels throughout, and you might prefer some areas over other areas as a result. Now, my next con, just like the flip side of this coin, and just like every other city in the area, the weather here is a con. It really does get hot in the summertime. 112 is pretty common for it to make it to, sometimes 115, sometimes 118, and that can feel like a lot. The old saying, it's a dry heat, or at least it's an old saying here. It's a dry heat really does make a difference. So I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people where they say that 90 degrees and 100% humidity is miserable and way worse than this. But 115 will give you a sunburn. It does have an impact. So you learn to hide from it, and you learn to wear sunscreen when you're outside. You learn to go swimming a lot. You learn to make sure your air conditioning is in good shape. So we do cope with it, and we kind of just hunker down a little bit until the cooler weather comes, and then we love our lives. And it is kind of the flip side of colder climates, where in a lot of those places you're hiding inside during the winter months. We're hiding inside during the summer months. And the energy bills kind of flip-flop in the same way. Our summertime cooling bill is really high compared to the wintertime heating bill in other in other states. I suppose it would be neglectful to not, bring up the flash flooding that can happen in some areas when there's a monsoon storm here. Those can hit hard, and they can be dangerous. I've known of people, not personally known, but I've known people that have been in kind of those a little bit more remote areas and have died in previous years. So it's not really an actual issue in most places, in most cases, but you'll want to do some research, and I can help you with that if you'd like, just to make sure that it's not a threat to where you're hoping to move to. The next con I have for you is pests, which is pretty similar to a lot of these areas in Phoenix as well. Scorpions and rattlesnakes are probably the two big ones in my mind, but I think, in my opinion, they're pretty overblown. I'll say that, some people do see scorpions fairly often. Some people make a thing out of going out at nighttime with a black light, and they'll hunt scorpions on their fences, on their walls and whatnot. I've never had the experience where that's necessary. I've only ever actually seen one scorpion indoors where I live, in my personal residence, and it was already dead. And I was born and raised in Arizona, so it's just never been an issue for me. I've only ever seen 2 rattlesnakes, and those were when I was hiking, and it was fine. I walked around them and they didn't care. So I don't know that rattlesnakes are really an issue for much of anybody where they live. But when you're outdoors doing your thing in a desert landscape, then you definitely got to be a little bit more careful. There are some communities, especially kind of in the Fountain Hills, Scottsdale areas, that have homes integrated into the desert landscape. In fact, they're not allowed to mess with it. And so rattlesnakes could be a real issue there. But in Casa Grande, probably not that big of a risk around the city area. As far as the terrain goes, what it looks like in Casa Grande, I gotta kind of put that in the cons area. It's pretty flat. There's not a whole lot of feature to or character to the land itself. As far as vegetation goes, there's just not a whole lot in Casa Grande. At one point I drove by a park and it had some of the biggest trees I've ever seen in the Phoenix metro area, but there weren't very many of them. It's pretty sparse, all things considered. A lot of the newer communities in Casa Grande, well, really all of the newer communities in Casa Grande, they have a lot of green areas with manicured grass and bushes and whatnot, and those areas double as water retention centers. So when the monsoon rains suddenly come in, it's got a place to go and be stored until it just disappears, until it evaporates and dries. But as a whole, the city just doesn't have a whole lot to look at compared to some other places. A lot of desert scenery. It's really kind of pockety. There's newer sections that are spread out a little bit. They're kind of congealing together, joining together. And then there's older sections that, they are what they are. There's a lot of open land too, a lot of empty lots that, as of right now, don't have anything. There are a lot of development signs up. When a company is planning a major development to fill in a space, they'll have a town council meeting. Lots of those signs. So that's a really good sign of a lot of growth coming to Casa Grande, and things kind of shaping up in that way. But kind of the pocketiness can be not super attractive to a lot of people, but it's the sign of a former agricultural town, modernizing and whatnot. There still are a lot of farms in the area. I see a lot of cornfields, for example. There's a dairy farm pretty close to there. Alfalfa, things like that. But the city's definitely moving in a certain direction, and those farms will get pushed out further as time goes on, of course. Casa Grande has the potential to be a really big, nice city in the future, but as of right now, I'm not sure they have the clear direction for that. I think a lot of people really like the small town feel, which is great, but that desire is a little incongruent with the newer developments that they got going on. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to watch, and for a lot of people, it's going to be perfect if you are getting one of those lucid jobs, for example, or if you want a super affordable home. It's a great option, worth considering. I just want you to be aware of some of the downsides so you can adjust to them, and you can prepare for them and know what you're getting into, because that can help with some of the shock that comes with moving to a new place, because that can always feel like a little bit much. It's also maybe important to know that Casa Grande has had a couple really big projects that didn't quite materialize. There was, for example, a major shopping center that was supposed to be developed, and my understanding is a lot of it was built, but it now sits empty and has been abandoned effectively. So that's kind of painful to see, and kind of just put some question marks in the air about the potential success of businesses there. Another one that comes to mind is Dreamport Villages, which was first announced, I think, back in 2015, and it was supposed to be something really big, something that I personally was excited for, a theme park. And I don't know what the actual theme was necessarily, but a theme park here in Casa Grande that was supposed to be, along the same quality size as Disneyland. And it just kind of fizzled out over the years. It's obviously a huge project and there's a lot of pieces to work out, but in the meantime, some of the land that they had in mind for this theme park got picked up and used for other purposes. So now it's, that whole pocketed thing that I was talking about. But as of right now, I don't think it's on, but there seems to be a little bit of maybe we can make it work, maybe we can't. As of right now, I don't know that it's something we can count on. On again, off again is kind of hard to plan around. But we'll see over the next few years. Maybe it'll end up coming to Casa Grande or someplace nearby. But it would be really cool to have a real theme park here in Arizona. We're overdue for one, considering how populated it is, and more importantly, how fast it's growing in the Phoenix metro area. All right, so if you made it this far in the video, thank you very much. Like I promised, I wanted to tell you about this cool little thing that I think is unique to Casa Grande. You know, it's a throwback for the most part to times of old where neon signs were really big and popular all over, and some of them got really creative and fun. So there's a neon sign park in Casa Grande that is just an interesting, unique place to go. So if you move to Casa Grande, or if you're visiting, if it's within reason, then definitely swing by, check it out. It's just a unique, interesting thing to do, and you know, something you can find in Casa Grande. But that is it for this video, and I hope you've already subscribed. If not, do so now. Ask a specific question in the comments. I would love to help you answer those. I regularly do so, and you know, I just want to be a wealth of knowledge to you. But I will be releasing a lot more videos on Casa Grande and other Phoenix metro suburbs. So stick around, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I will talk to you or see you soon.